Hello, and welcome to the Not So Alpha Males podcast, the show where every Thursday two cool nerds delve into the worlds of science, psychology, and everything in between. Brought to you by your host, me, Toby.
And your boy, Tom.
Hello, Tom. Well, today's topic, I'll be
Try
talking to you
something
guys.
new.
I'll be talking to you guys about the Fermi Paradox and the question of where are all the aliens? What are you bringing to this week's podcast, Tom?
I'm doing a new technology called Deepfake. I don't know if you've come across that before. It's getting more and more mainstream and in the news, and that's for good reason. So stay tuned for that.
Nice one. To make sure you don't miss any of the stuff that we do here, make sure you give our Instagram page a nice follow, and
Please
you'll
do.
find us on that app, Not So Alpha Males. Right, and of course, we'll be drinking throughout this episode. So what cocktail have you got this week for us, Tom?
I have gone for a Long Island iced tea, which is bringing back beautiful memories of being on a beach in Thailand, where it was the first ever cocktail that I ever ordered at a bar.
Is it as good as the one in Thailand, or?
Actually, I've made it pretty well. I'm quite chuffed by myself. I feel like we're getting really good practice. I'm going to have to invest in like a cocktail shaker kit thing at some point because it's getting serious.
Well, we did say we were going to come up with a Not So Alpha Males cocktail as well.
That's
we need
true.
To,
We've
make
got
sure
to do
we
that.
start thinking about, yeah.
Anyway, and what are you drinking, mate?
So I've gone for an amaretto sour, so much more sweet today. It's come out very pink as well, which is not a bad thing. Very nice. But we've got some amaretto, some lemon juice. Gone for egg whites, which gives it this froth, which you can see.
Oh, very nice froth.
Yeah, love a froth. And some really sweet cherries. So it's actually quite nice.
Yeah, your cocktails always look really good. Like they look like actual. Like mine are always just a single color with some ice in a cup, and yours are always very colorful and sweet looking and cocktail looking.
Do you know the secret, Tom?
What?
It's love and affection. That's what makes it. Something that you don't offer much to anyone.
I lack. Yeah, shit. Okay, I'll try and improve on that for next week. Okay.
Anyway, let's get on to the topics. So this week, Tom, I'm going to start with a question for you. So finish your gulp.
This is different.
Yeah. Do you believe in aliens?
Oh.
And when I say aliens, I mean like kind of complex life.
Okay. What? So not like a microbe or something like distant planet,
Yeah.
like something actually going on proper. I mean, I would love it to be the case. So I'm going to say yes to be an optimist. Considering how big the universe is, how many planets and how many stars, but then for them to occur at the same time as us. Yes, I'm going to go yes.
No answer.
I'm going to go yes. I'm going yes.
Okay.
I'm going yes. I believe. I'm a believer.
Good.
There's lizard people among us already. I'm a believer.
Yeah, the Illuminati, mate. So yeah, that's wise to think. I would also agree with you. You know, apparently there are 500 billion planets, at least in the Milky Way. Okay, just in the galaxy. And that's roughly 10,000 for every grain of sand on Earth. So a lot.
Oh.
And they think at least 4 billion are Earth-like planets that live in the Goldilocks zone. And do you know the Goldilocks zone?
Yeah, that's that distance or band of distances away from a sun for a place not to be too hot or too cold and to be life-sustaining.
So it needs to have the right temperature for water to exist. So if it's too hot, it would evaporate. If it's too cold, it would freeze. So there's a lot of planets like that. But also, the Milky Way is 13 billion years old, okay? And in the beginning, it wouldn't have been a good place for planets and life because everything was just exploding into each other. But after about a couple billion years, the first planets were born. And the Earth has only been around for 4 billion years. So you think there's probably trillions of chances of life being able to develop on other planets in the past. Would you say?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I guess the question is, they might have died out, kind of like the dinosaurs did, or like how we might, or something. I don't know.
We'll get to the question in a minute.
You sound so down with that. We'll get to the question in a minute.
Anyway,
I love it.
So, so you think there would be, right? And if we actually look on, if we took the lifetime of the universe and put it on a calendar year, I don't know if you've seen these things before, but our species came in about 12 minutes before midnight on the 31st of December. So obviously 1st of January to 31st of December.
Wow.
We're on that last 12 minutes of till the new year. And Western civilization has actually only existed for a few seconds. So
Mad.
if you think if an alien life, imagine if they started in August, okay, in that kind of calendar month, right? What would they then look like? And there are apparently three categories that scientists say. So it's nice and simple. We always stay to like one,
Okay.
two, three, four.
Yeah.
And they're called type civilization. So you have a type 1 civilization. And to be that, you need to be able to access the whole energy available on the planet. So it basically puts us at around 0.73. They've specified that we're at right now.
Wait, you have to explain that some more. All the energy on the planet. What do you mean by that?
So all the
What does that
energy,
mean?
so like all the sun that's hitting the planet, or all
Right.
the geothermal kind of energy that you could get from it.
And that civilization is using like all possible energy. That's a type
Pretty
A.
much, yeah. That's a type
Okay.
1.
Okay. Type 1, sorry, yeah.
And they reckon we could reach that in a few hundred years, which again is nothing in the scale of things. Then you have a type 2, which is capable of harnessing all of the energy around its home star. And they,
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of a Dyson sphere before, but there's like these ideas of you could cover the entire sun with like a sphere of material that absorbs all the sun.
Wow. Okay. There's people
Yeah.
working on this stuff. Cool.
It's just a theory or an idea. And then there's type 3, which is control the whole galaxy and its energy. And these would be like gods to us. Like you wouldn't ever be able to understand that. Now, if a summer civilization came about, so one that came out in August when we're the 31st of December, there could easily be type 2 civilizations, maybe even a type 3.
Wow.
But
Okay.
if you think of that timescale,
Yeah. I'm with you.
that's just from like extrapolating the rate of technology that we have today. Like nothing like stupid, like no warp drives or wormholes or anything. And there's this thing I've read, and it said if a civilization could produce self-replicating probes to visit every planet system in the galaxy, if they launched on midnight on August the 1st, the probes would have reached every single planet by breakfast the next day. Right?
Really? Wait, how quickly are they replicating?
So it's basically these probes, like they go to a planet, make more probes, and send out to other planets and just spiral out like that. And it would take literally just till breakfast. So in the scale of things, it's so easy, like it's plausible. Like the timescales that we're used to are tiny. So, but then I come to the question: where is everyone? Why has this not happened before? And a guy called Enrico Fermi, who made the world's first nuclear reactor, asked that question: where are all the aliens?
Did he have an answer?
Well, that's why it's a paradox. we don't really know.
Damn.
But does that make sense? Where, like, all the amount of time that there has been, there could have easily been a civilization that should have gone out everywhere.
Yeah, no, you're talking billions of years, and as you say, we've been around for a couple 100,000. Like, yeah, it's just I hope that we've coincided with other ones that have been born or kept going so far, like we have. I always think of it right as like, you know how we just don't really care about like an anthill when you walk past it, or like some whole other life that's just like on the micro level. Surely if there's like some advanced civilization doing that kind of stuff out there, they just look at us and be like, yeah, that's just an anthill. Like there's 1,000 anthill planets somewhere, they're just like not bothered, hence why they're not, showing up on a ship or something and saying hi.
The ants would still see us walking past them, wouldn't they? So why can't we see anyone else out there or hear anything? I'll come to it.
Yeah,
we don't need to answer the questions yet. We'll come to it.
Okay.
I'm going to just be talking about the Milky Way in this because there's also hundreds of billions of galaxies, but we won't ever be able to travel to the galaxies at all, because as they get further out, the universe expands faster and faster, so it would take billions of years for us to even get anywhere else. So we're just talking about the Milky Way with this.
Okay. Yeah, I've got a question about that, actually. I don't know if you know it, but is the rate of expansion of the universe, it's at the speed of light, or is it not?
No.
Okay. Is it faster or slower? No, it's got to be slower then, is it, than the speed of light?
Well, the rate of expansion changes the further you are away from everyone. So if you think of like a balloon and you blow up a balloon, all the dots will get further away from each other. The ones further away will get even further and further. So like Andromeda, which is the closest galaxy to us, that's actually crashing into us. That's on its like collision course with us. But as you get further away, space is expanding faster and faster. So we can never actually get to some of these places. That's why there's a visible universe.
That's
so
what,
like
yeah.
when you get to that line, it's expanding faster than the speed of light. So you would never be able to see past that line.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. Okay, I'm with you now. I'm with you. That's
Anyway,
a
I'm not a
shame, but I'm
physics
with you.
grad, so I don't know if any of that's true. So don't
Disclaimer.
yeah, but I think that's right. Anyway, so let's imagine the development of life from its inception to where we are today, and how they imagine this is in flights of stairs. Scientists. So you think of like a staircase, right? They call each step a barrier, and if a planet is to host this spacefaring civilization, there are some of these key barriers that they have to overcome to get there. So they say that the first barrier is habitability, which means we need a planet that's in that Goldilocks zone that we talked about before. So it needs to be the right sort of temperature, right sort of size, right sort of star. But I said there's loads of planets that have that, so that's the first barrier. The second barrier is abiogenesis, which I think I've said right, but it's basically the creation of life from non-life. And the building blocks of life are kind of found everywhere in the universe. So amino acids have been found in comets, organic molecules in dust clouds in space.
That's cool.
So all the ingredients are there, but we don't really understand how that dead chemistry then turns into life. And there's some theories to it, but we don't fully understand that yet. And we don't know if that's actually a very unique thing, or if everywhere has that kind of, if it's got the building blocks, something will happen and it will turn into life. The third barrier is for early life to then become complex. So you need to build more structures, become multicellular, which enables all these different varieties and complexities of life. Some planets that might not happen. And then the fourth barrier is the development of technological civilization. So there's quite a lot of intelligent life on Earth. Like if you think of elephants, they've been shown that they can work together to solve problems. Octopus apparently can recognize human faces and things.
Oh, they're mad smart, yeah.
Ravens can plan for future events, which I didn't know.
Wow.
But they would never think of going out to space, would they? I mean, they're intelligent, but they would never think space travel was an end goal. So there might be some worlds where kind of evolution, it doesn't require space travel, so it just never happens, and you don't get a human race.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Evolution doesn't require space travel. Like evolution's more for survival of the fittest, isn't it? And when would ever I've got to leave the planet be a question of an animal or a life form to make that decision?
Yeah, that's why, and we don't know if that's a really unique thing or not.
Okay.
And then the last barrier is communication across space. So maybe an advanced civilization just chooses to explore just a really inner circle because they don't want to encounter a risk with a neighbor, or like if you're in a jungle, in a tropical jungle, would you be shouting out like, "Oh, hello, I'm here," like, "Hello, everyone," and there's fucking tigers around? You wouldn't want to do that. You'd keep your mouth shut. So maybe that's what they're doing. And there'll be some worlds where civilizations just want to stay silent and don't want to travel. So that's another barrier. As we go through these steps, we still haven't seen anything out there. We haven't seen anything past that last step yet, which means there could be something preventing life from climbing that staircase that I talked about. Because each one of these things is a stair beyond the step that we're on right now.
Right.
So like we are on this top step, and why is no one else on the step above us? And it basically means...
but we've sent like signals out to the universe, haven't we? And like probes, like there's that Voyager 1 probe with like human things on that's just been sent out. And it's like recently passed Pluto, or it's recently left our solar system, so it's like the furthest something's ever been before. So we're trying to shout out, I think, but
yeah, we are,
yeah,
but no one else is.
What my point
so
was.
Are we on the top of the
We're
step?
at the tops, yeah, which would be sad.
But it basically means that there's something that prevents life going any further than that, potentially.
Right.
And this is known as the Great Filter. which is this challenge or danger so hard to overcome that any species that encounters it gets wiped out. So there are two main scenarios that can happen from this. One, we're like super lucky and really special, or two, we're doomed and pretty much dead. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah,
Nice.
I
Someone's
think
the bearer of good news here.
I think I'd prefer the first scenario, but it's very unlikely to be the first one. But I'll get into it. It
Okay.
basically depends where the filter is on our staircase, right? So is it
Hmm.
behind us or ahead of us? Scenario one, the good one, this great filter, it's behind us. So we are like the first ever to get past all these different steps that have been almost impossible for every single life out in the galaxy to actually pass.
Does that
And
mean that we're alone then? Or does that just mean that we're the first that would actually find someone else?
so scenario one would be that we are the only intelligent life worth that can actually think of that question of where is everyone.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, what step could it be that trips up all the different life everywhere else? Could it be that turning that dead chemistry into real life is actually really, really hard and it never actually happens? And it needs like some really unique circumstances that just happen to happen on Earth. And some scientists think, if the conditions are there, it could develop everywhere. But in 2000, there was this guy called Peter Ward and Don Brownlee, and they proposed this rare earth idea. And it was basically looking more at these barriers. If we look at one possible barrier, we're able to be here right now because of Earth's previous inhabitants over the last 4 billion years have actually had quite good weather. Like, there's not been any crazy up and downs. There's been a long-term climate that is stable. I'm not talking like climate change now, where it's like a few degrees up and down. Like, I'm talking like quite big ranges, but as long as it's enough for water to be liquid, not all frozen or not all evaporated, it's been pretty stable over the last 4 billion years.
Yeah, so like ice ages don't matter in that kind of sense. They're not as big of fluctuations as you're talking about.
No, because life's still been
Yeah,
able to live through it.
got you.
And there's a hint that our moon has really helped us. So there's a theory that this planet called Theia, which is like the size of Mars, smashed into Earth billions of years ago, and that formed Earth and the moon. And the moon's actually very big for the planet, like the size comparison of the planet. Like if you think of Jupiter, how small its moons are compared to like the whole planet.
Right, yeah.
So by having such a large moon, it's actually allowed Earth's axis to be stable on that tilt, and it doesn't really move back or forth. And by doing that, it's allowed for this climate to just stay very similar. If the moon was apparently a few miles bigger, like a few hundred miles bigger, allowed the axis to wander a lot more, which would then cause a lot of dramatic climate events, which could stop like complex life from developing.
Right,
So there's
okay,
that
yeah.
thought that that unique circumstance of that planet hitting into Earth, causing this big moon, is so rare that it's only happened here. There's another one where Jupiter is really, really big, and it's meant that its gravitational pull has actually sucked away a lot of the asteroids that would have hit Earth, and it's kept all them asteroids in the asteroid belt. So if we didn't have that, we might have been smashed a lot more by asteroids, which might have stopped development of life.
Yeah, no, I was read something about the moon helping with the asteroid impacts as well, and like the proof of that being all the craters on the moon itself, and how that's actually spared us from sort of a lot of global extinction events from asteroids and things from the cosmos.
Yeah, and because it's so big, it protects us a lot more. So basically, what they were saying is that we could add a few more of these barriers into the original ones we had. And if you said mathematically that for every barrier, 1 in 1,000 planets, life forms on a planet would go to the next barrier. So
Okay.
if you look at a galaxy, right, that contains 1 trillion planets, so maybe twice as much as the Milky Way. If we go through these steps now and take
Okay.
1,000 each time, so the first step, habitability, like I said, the right sort of planet, the right sort of area, that trillion becomes 1 billion. stability, which is that climate then stays benign for years, like I just mentioned before, that billion becomes a million. Now, 3, life must start from nothing. That million then becomes 1,000, and then complex life comes from that. That 1,000 then becomes 1. So you think, oh, actually, we could be alone in the galaxy.
Right. Okay, and that bodes well for the argument we're the only one here.
Yeah, and that means we're so fucking lucky. Anyway, that's scenario 1, and now scenario 2 is that there's great filters and they're ahead of us, and this would be pretty bad. It's very likely to be the case. And when I say great filters, I don't mean like kind of major events that would kill a lot of people and then put us back 1,000 years or something like that. I'm talking it would be the end of that species completely. Because if you think 1,000 years is nothing in the grand scheme of things. So it would have to be this filter that would, anytime a civilization gets so complex, it would be wiped out. And there's a really would you say depressing? Probably quite depressing. Idea is that once a species takes control of its planet, it's already on the path to self-destruction. And technology is the best way to achieve this. So it needs to be something that's so obvious that virtually everybody in the galaxy discovers it, and so dangerous that it leads to a disaster that kills out that species 100% of the time. Could be like a...
Hearing that, and then reflecting on what you said right at the start about a species or a civilization using all of the available energy of a planet in type 1, that actually does sound more plausible thinking about it, because if a civilization is using all of the energy on that planet, and before it started to get off that planet and go to another planet to start sourcing energy, that sounds like kind of a situation where that whole planet and stuff's going to implode a bit. The same way as like what we're doing now, taking all the coal out, using all the energy available on this planet, and we're killing the planet. And if we keep doing what we're doing right now, unless we get off to Mars or whatever, it's going to be the end of us. So that does actually sound quite plausible now, the second argument, which is the more depressing argument.
Yeah. So that's basically one of the ideas, that kind of technology and taking over the planet and destroying it is the reason why everyone fails. Because maybe there's this runaway chain reaction that every ecosystem will go through when they're being developed, which we don't really understand yet. And then it ends up being the kind of filter that kills off everyone. There's other things, so you could have a large scale nuclear war. It could be like nanotechnology, which then goes out of control. That you got to think anyone smart enough would kind of stumble across it. So there was this thing when the Manhattan Project, when they were testing the nukes for the first time, like some of the scientists were saying, if we set off this nuke, it could set off a chain reaction and ignite the atmosphere of the planet.
Just start making every chemical decay in the atmosphere. That sounds great.
Yeah, they thought there could be like this fireball which would then set off this chain reaction. But they still bloody tested that nuke, and
wisdom and ignorance.
Yeah, there was this thing with, I don't know if you remember, with the CERN when they were colliding the atoms. There was a thing where everyone thought there could be like a black hole that gets produced, which would suck in the Earth, but we still did it.
Yeah, so, was that actually legit though, or was that mainstream media saying that, and then all the scientists at CERN going, "What on earth are these guys talking about? Like, we're just smashing a proton into a proton." I can't remember because it was like we were quite young at the time.
Yeah, I reckon that was obviously some scientists that worried about it, but the point is that we could stumble across some technology which we push the button thinking it's the best thing ever, and then it could be the end. Yeah, AI, yeah. AI, and mate. Every civilization crosses that. And if that's true, then we're actually closer to the end of human existence than we are to the beginning of it.
This is very depressing, Toby.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought I was quite chipper last week talking about bumblebees, and now...
well, that could be a filter, couldn't it?
You're really laying on a bit of a depressing theme in this one.
Well, it's not to say that we are. We could be the one in front of the last step, and we can have the whole galaxy to colonize. But...
True.
Right, I'm going to do a test now on you, Tom.
Okay. Oh,
Okay. See if
ready.
you've been listening. Right. Imagine, okay, NASA have announced that they found aliens and there was bacteria on Mars, weird kind of alien fish in an ocean in Europa, and ancient ruins on Titan. Would this be good news or bad news for us?
Well, from what you've spoke about, bad news, because it means that those people imploded themselves.
What about the
And
bacteria and the weird alien fish?
oh, what? So you're saying that they're on the lower steps than us?
If
So
we
those
just
two
found
would
them,
indicate, yeah, those two would indicate that they're behind us, right? But then the ancient ruins on Titan mean that there's one that's been ahead of us, but then they died out. Correct.
yeah,
So that means that what you just said about us being closer towards the end than the beginning is where we're at.
you were right by saying bad. I just trying to see if I could get anything else out of you, but
right. I'm 3/4 away through the Long Island iced tea. That's a long shot.
So the more common life is in the universe, and the more advanced and complex it is, the more likely that the filter is in front of us. So finding bacteria would be bad because that first filter to make bacteria means it's actually not that hard, and there would be bacteria everywhere. Small animals would be then even worse because it shows that you could get to that level without any filter. And then intelligent life would be really quite scary and the ruins of the ancient civilizations would be like really scary because it means that that filter is definitely in front of us. So when we look for life on Mars, the best thing that we could find is nothing in terms of a humanity standpoint.
Okay. So we're always hoping to find things less advanced than ourselves.
Well, we're hoping to find nothing because it shows that we've crossed all the filters. Yeah. Because there must have been a filter before us if that was the case.
Right, gotcha. Okay.
But yeah, to wrap this up, we don't really have an answer. We don't know because we don't know how big them steps are to overcome. And we could be close to the limit of what technology can give us, or we could be the one that's gone past the filter to explore the galaxy, which would be pretty cool. Anyway, that's me done. I'm out.
That was interesting. My question about it, though, is why does life need water and those kind of building blocks? Is it not possible to have life form from other types of building blocks out there?
So I think that basis is just the fact that all life on Earth has come from water.
Yes.
So every single living thing usually requires water to survive, or is coming from something that has. There could be alien life that doesn't need that, and we're just looking in the wrong places. Anyway, on to you, Tom. On to you.
Yeah. All right, I'll take over. So this week, I'm going to be talking about deepfakes. First off, I'll start with a question like you did then, seeing as that's the new format we're going for. Do you know what a deepfake is?
I can hazard a guess. Is it projecting... wait, let me say that again.
I take it you don't know what it is. Great. Right, let me tell you. It is where a person...
Not having that. I just need you to formulate the words in my head.
Okay. Take your time. I know it's stressful. Take your time.
3, 2, 1. I could hazard a guess. Is it pretending someone's saying something using AI, like changing their face and their mouth and stuff? When they're not, it's not actually them.
Yeah. So the actual sort of definition is like where a person in an existing image or video is replaced with someone else's likeness. And this can, as you sort of alluded to there, can be either visual or audio or both. Audio matching's been around for longer than visual. And then visual's been making a big sort of leaps and bounds in technology recently. And then the problem in the last 2-3 years is people have been putting them together, which is causing all kinds of controversy and problems for real life people when people fake videos of them. So I'm going to first start us off with a video example of this. And I know that we can't do it because this is a podcast, right? But I'm going to show it to you now. And you guys listening at home will be able to hear it. and you'll very quickly be able to realize who's actually speaking or who the fake voice is of. But I'm going to show it to you to get your reaction, because I want to show you the kind of level that this technology is at now, because it's scary. It's very, very lifelike. And for everyone at home listening, pause the podcast right now, hit that pause button, head over to the Instagram page. And if you haven't followed, follow, make sure you do that. But the video that I'm about to show Toby is on there, so you can go watch it and see what you think of yourself. Anyway, so let me share this with you now, Tobes.
I'm very excited.
Right.
Yeah, you need to share sound, mate. Would be good.
Am I not sharing sound?
Fucking noob.
Oh.
We're keeping this in.
No, we're not. We're not. This is just some minor technical difficulties, okay? Right. Listen and watch this, Tobes, and let me know what you think.
I'm gonna show you some magic. It's the real thing. I mean, it's all the real thing.
Yeah, so if you couldn't tell already, that was Tom Cruise.
Or was it?
What was your thoughts?
Pretty fucking scary, not gonna lie, mate.
It's
so creepy.
Ridiculously lifelike, isn't it?
It's like even like just the voice and like the swallowing and everything.
Yeah.
And it just tracks his face.
It's it's kind of, so this video itself is a actor who's doing like the actual body and the head movement, so to speak, and the hands and stuff. It's an actor called Miles Fisher who collabed with a visual effects artist who specializes in deepfakes called Christopher Ume. I really hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. UME. And yeah, so he's the actual professional who took Miles's recording of him doing the little magic trick and then basically plastered Tom Cruise's face on top.
So it's not like he has a green screen on his face or anything, is it?
No.
Like, is there little dots on his face that they have to track it? Or?
Absolutely nothing, which is why it's a kind of a problem, because you don't need anything apart from the first image of someone else and then the image of the other person's face you want to put on. That's all you need. You don't need them to be doing anything in particular. And I'll get into why and how it works, because it's AI doing all the legwork, all the grunt work of copying it across and changing it.
Is that one of Barack Obama as well? Have you seen that one?
Yes, I was going to get into that
creepy.
as well as some of the one. Yeah, so 2 years ago, or actually no, it's 3 years ago, 2018 now. Yeah, Jordan Peele, you know, the producer, director, Key and Peele star, he has done lots of impersonations of Barack Obama, but to sort of highlight the problems with this technology that's coming out, he obviously got permission from Barack Obama himself to do it, but he did a recording of himself, and then a visual effects artist then plastered Barack Obama's face and then changed Jordan Peele's voice to Barack Obama's voice. And it's him just saying whatever Jordan Peele wants him to say. So you can start to see where the real problems and implications come from. Unfortunately, it's been mainly negative being used for so far, but I thought I'd try and be positive. So I'll do the positives first. There's a couple of companies that have come out. One's called Siraproc. Shout out to them, who are able to reproduce people's voices based on past videos of themselves. And it's aimed at people who have since lost their voice. So to give you an example of this, so the late Stephen Hawking, he lost his voice in like the 80s, I think it was, or was it the 90s? And then some years later, he would come to have the computer, that onboard computer with the very famous Stephen Hawking voice that we've all come to associate with him. But what this company does is instead use old video recordings of those people speaking before they lost their voice to then build a computer system which then speaks every word with their voice, so they can actually still talk like themselves.
Could you have one that, say if someone's like died or something, could you still have them talking to you? Like,
yeah,
you know, like a little Alexa where you could be like, oh, hi, so-and-so, and then they talk to you and it's like, oh, they're back. That's a bit creepy though, isn't it?
It is. I was going to get into that because it's a area called techpanionship. where you sort of using the virtual and technology to combat loneliness, and you can send companies data files on videos of them, and from that they can make an AI, and then you could have a conversation with a deceased person, which is a really scary concept really going forward. An example of that is you can actually see it though. Kim Kardashian did it. Kanye did a present for her, which was a deep fake and a hologram at the same time. So it's an actual hologram in her house of her late father, and he was like saying happy birthday to her and like how well she's done and things like that. And that's on. You can go see that on her Instagram. It's one of her posts, which is a.
Do you think that's a good thing or?
Well, yeah, but imagine if you've lost a parent. I mean, it's unfortunate because up until now, obviously now we take videos all the time and photos especially. Like there's actually data for people who are alive now, but obviously you can't do that for someone 50 years ago because there's no training data to actually teach an AI how that person spoke or how that person looked and moved.
But going to my question though, do you think that should be a thing? Like, would that be worse for people with mental health to be holding on, or is it? I don't know. It's hard because could you get over it if you think they're still there but they're not? But
this is
you watch videos of them, so I don't know. It's weird.
But this is the scary thing because a lot of people are now combining this technology with an actual AI technology, so it can think by itself, but then also talk like someone and look like someone on the computer. But then people are now also combining it with robotics. So the end goal from all this research I was looking at is like you will be able to reform people who might have passed away or anyone, even living, and present them to the world and they're the same person. It's a really freaky kind of technology.
Yeah.
Those are actually the only positives I found.
Great.
So like companionship, the kind of craziness of bringing someone back from the dead almost. And then I guess entertainment too.
Well, I was about to say the entertainment. It allows you to then be like a celebrity. Like I could be Miley Cyrus on a wrecking ball. I've got a video of that somewhere.
But Tobes, you don't need to have her face to do that. You can do that. You can do that by yourself already. Just be.
I guess
empowered.
That's slightly different, isn't it? With the face one, because that's the face swap, and it's not.
Yeah, no. So
fake.
yeah, it's it gets weird because what we'll get into on some of the negatives and some of the overalls is it's in court cases where this has come up. There's real discussion and trying to work out what the balance is between freedom of speech and deep fakes, because and this is mainly to do with America because that's where most of the cases are coming from. They have their First Amendment, which protects the right of free speech. That also protects the right to create and express opinions. And under that is like art. And so there's a real weird legal grey area where the courts are trying to recognise and work out the balance between a plaintiff's right to privacy. So what's Tom Cruise's rights, because that's his face he's using, and the defendant's rights, Miles, who's made this, and Chris, who's made this, their right to creation and to free speech. So it's a real weird kind of grey area of this new technology, which most places haven't really adapted to yet, which is why you have so many problems and the many negative sides, which brings us into negative sides.
Surely they'd ban not being able to use someone else's face. Surely they'll be on the side of like the Tom Cruise.
Well,
I
not
get
really,
free
because
speech, but you shouldn't be able to use someone's face.
Yeah, but you're allowed to take a picture of someone in a public place, and that's your property. That's because even though it's their face in the photo, you're allowed to take pictures of people in the park, or like when you're taking a picture of yourself in the park and there's people in the background, you don't need consent.
I mean, like specific. You can't just walk up to someone and be like, "Smile," and just take a photo. Like what is it, street photography and things like that. Obviously, most people go up afterwards and say, "I took your picture. Can I please use it?" But I think the rights are, as long as it's not used for commercial gain. I believe what's in the public domain is in the public domain, and that goes for because you could take a picture of Tom Cruise off the internet right now and edit it on Photoshop to whatever you wanted to do, and he can't sue you for doing that.
you know, and all his
got
films are
lots
out
of,
there.
I've got lots of pictures of Tom Cruise. Don't worry, they're all on my computer already.
Fucking weirdo. Yeah, skip over that. Jesus Christ. But people put their image in the public sphere, and you don't need permission to grab it and use it as a deep fake. I mean, I don't know the law specifically. This would be a really good point to have a lawyer come on to discuss it, but it is very, very new law. And so courts and the legal system is kind of playing catch up to how to deal with it. And I think China actually has the best policy. Most places haven't done anything really to safeguard against it, but China last year made it law that anything made deep fake has to have a watermark on it saying that it is deep fake, that it is fake, and all the rest of it, no matter if it's used for bad gain or good gain or anything like that. But okay, let's get into some of the negatives. First off, blackmail. That's seen massive spikes recently. So you create material to then be used to falsely incriminate a victim. So if I could make a video showing you stealing something, and you know I've got you on video, it's bringing into question, like, you can't believe what you see anymore. Like, everything can be faked. But what's been a very interesting turn of events with the blackmail side of things is now that because these deep fakes and these pictures and videos are so real and lifelike, victims of actual blackmail, where they have got something that's been held against them, whatever that might be, are now just saying that's deep fake. It's not real. And then they get away with it. and they're not threatened by the blackmailer anymore. So that's kind of a positive.
Well, it depends what you're being blackmailed for, I guess. If you've done something bad, it's not a good thing.
Well, what else? What's a good thing you're getting blackmailed for?
I mean, like, if you killed someone and then someone knew, so they were holding you over it and you were paying them money, you could just be like, oh, that wasn't me. I didn't kill that person.
Yeah, true. Oh, yeah, no. There are some ways to actually still detect it, which I'll get into. But this phenomenon itself of saying that's when you're in real blackmail and you go, no, it's deep fake, it's called blackmail inflation. So that's quite interesting. The sort of second big negative then, pornography. I mean, in October 2019, a Dutch cybersecurity startup called Deeptrace estimated that 96% of all deepfakes online were pornographic. So all the images and videos where the main case is like putting celebrities onto porn actresses' bodies, and so it looks like it's the actual celebrity in that video. That's like the main biggest use of it at the moment.
But that's not illegal? Is that what you're saying?
It's such a weird grey area of the law, and that's the problem. I think without putting it into those kind of situations, obviously you can go after them for other laws like slander and misrepresentation and things like that, and you can get it taken down or whatever, and it can go to court. But the actual art of making a deep fake isn't illegal. It's only under other circumstances which you could sue someone for a deep fake, not for actually making the deep fake without your consent, kind of thing. But I mean, the law is changing on this very fast because they are having to catch up quickly. So it's hopefully going to change soon. Because I mean, there's another thing I found which was quite horrible, which was an app was released a couple of years ago, which used this technology, and you could put in any picture of someone, and then it would produce the naked version of that person. And that was just like an app.
I mean, I'd use that for
download. Well, obviously there's good instances of using it like that, and then there's bad instances of using it. So that's another big problem with it. So yeah, next, a big one that you can probably imagine is politics. So we already spoke a bit about that Barack Obama case, but what if someone wanted to try and use it for malicious intent? Because, you know, there's states out there, there's countries out there which have very, very restricting internet access or no internet access, and like they limit the press, like there's control over the press. The government can basically feed information, whatever information it wants, to its people. And with the power of deepfake, it gives them so much more control. It's a real,
so you can have like a Biden video of him saying like, "Oh, we hate the Chinese."
Yeah,
and then the Chinese government then leak that, even though it's not him
Yeah,
saying it.
exactly. Well, that's what they did in the Barack Obama one. Barack Obama in Jordan Peele one slated Donald Trump a bit. But obviously, it's not Barack Obama saying that. He could never say that in the public video. But there's now a video out there where he is saying it. And then the other biggest thing that's happened is fraud, which is kind of similar to blackmail, which is a quite funny story. Fair play to the criminal who pulled this off, because in 2019, a UK-based energy firm, couldn't find the name of it, it was never released online. The CEO was scammed over the phone by an individual who used audio deepfake technology to impersonate the voice of the parent company's CEO, and said, you need to transfer 220,000 euros to this Hungarian supplier. And then he did it thinking, well, that's my boss calling me on the phone, I've got to transfer that money. So he told his accounting department to transfer the money. And yeah, it was just a randomer who changed his voice to sound like the CEO of the parent company, and he ran away with 220 grand.
Have you seen that? I think it's quite similar on the Google Assistant when they released that on you could get it to like call a hairdressers or something.
Yeah.
And it would call for you. It would be like, oh, hello, I'm here. I'm just wanting to book an appointment, and it would do the whole like yeah, that's fine, and it would just sound like a human person. And they got loads of backlash for it, and now I think they're forced at the beginning of the call to say, I am the Google Assistant, and then it will like speak, because
really
people didn't like the thought of like a robot.
That's such a shame, because I thought that was amazing when that video came out. But yeah, the thing is though, that Google one, that's the Google Assistant voice. It's a fake voice. No one owns that voice, so to speak. With this though, you could give it anyone's voice. Like you could be Morgan Freeman calling up the hairdressers. And it's like, it really is an interesting it's an interesting argument about who owns what. Like you should own your voice, you should own your face, so to speak. But it's art, you know, like you could paint someone else, you could take a video of someone else with their consent, and so surely you can create a deep fake of someone else. It's a really weird thing. I have to say, the only thing limiting the technology at the moment is you have to have the base video to do it. Like you have to have someone else acting to do the body movement and the tilting of the head, and then you can just take someone else's face and put it on. That's the only thing that limits it at the moment. But obviously, as we know, like CGI is becoming so much better. You could make a whole entire body in a computer and not need that first person anyway. And you won't need that first person to act out something or do whatever you want the video to be. You could just CGI it all, then plaster the face and the voice on top. So it's
worrying.
It's worrying. It's a really, really dangerous technology.
You could see that being like a kick-off World War III kind of thing.
Exactly. I'll talk to you a bit about the responses then. I actually only found one way that people are trying to tackle it, which has some sort of validity and might work. I mean, we already talk about like academics now are actually focusing more on not creating it, but how to detect it. But as I said, that's like a two-edged sword, because when they detect how to detect it, the criminals or whatever will just work out, okay, now I need to account for that. And then they get better, and then they got to do something else. And, you know, at what point does that end? But one of the biggest things is, if you imagine a video is just a sequence of images, isn't it? Every frame. And so going again back to your Bitcoin, people have been thinking that in video recording hardware, to give each frame a blockchain number, and then each frame, when fitted together, fits a certain blockchain. So remember we talked about that pattern of like the one fits into the one before, and then fits in, and then basically the hash. If you then created a video which is fake, that hash it doesn't exist. It's a new frame, so it can't fit in, and then you know if it's real or not. Which I thought that sounds like a viable method.
Yeah, I think blockchain it's used for a lot more things than just cryptocurrency. Like there's loads of stuff out there to stop forgery. It's like medical records and stuff they use it for. So I think it would definitely be the case for.
That's the only thing I found about safeguarding against this technology, which is kind of scary.
If that works, then
but if it works, good, great. Right? Yeah, no, exactly. So yeah, in the end, deepfakes are mainly being used to undermine the trust in information and journalism at the end of the day, which we're already in such like a polarized world that it's going to do absolutely no good. Even though you might be able to speak to someone you lost or something like that, there are some positives, but it's a scary technology. But the problem is, I read some papers on it back in like 2000 where they were just sort of learning about it and working it out, and it hadn't been let out of the box, so to speak. And these people were like, you know, it is a Pandora box. As soon as it's out, it's not going back in. And, you know, now it is out there. We're not going to get back. It has ruined a lot of lives with sort of the scandals that you see.
Yeah, well, you can imagine if you're getting blackmailed and there's a picture of you or like a video of you doing something you shouldn't have done or something, and then send that to your boss, you'd be like, oh, you can't like.
Yeah, exactly. And
people would pay the money.
Which is why you've got those startups like Deeptrace, which are starting to do the sort of cyber security side of things, and which is good to know that they're out there, but it's always like a hindsight thing, not a foresight thing, which is a shame. Yeah, freaky world we're going to have in the future. Because, go watch that Kim Kardashian one, because when you've combined it with like a hologram, it's a person in front of you. It's terrifying. Like, it's terrifying. So, yeah.
I think it'd be cool for ancestry stuff. Like, imagine like 200 years, it could be like a video of me talking to like my great grandkid or something, and be like, oh yeah, this is what I did. And
yeah. It is interesting. I mean, it's interesting because people are combining it with all sorts of other AI now, so that you can have a full-on conversation like the Google Assistant. Like if you mix Google Assistant and Deepfake together, you could have a conversation with someone you know, and then you put them on the screen, and I someday won't need you to co-host this podcast.
I was about to say that.
Like I'll do it all by myself with an AI version of you. So benefits and negatives, man.
I mean, the only listener would be your mum after that. That's fine. And she doesn't even listen.
And she doesn't even listen now. So it's an improvement again. Win-win.
Anyway.
How's your drink this week?
It was good. I finished it. There's little cherry bits at the bottom, which I've kind of left, but it was nice. It was
nice
a
amount of detail.
I definitely recommend go look at the post for the ingredients. I'd recommend making that. What about yours?
I'll always recommend a Long Island iced tea. It's one of my favourite. The problem is I always make like a litre of it at a time, because whenever I follow cocktail recipes, it's always like, you're going to make it for 4 people. So I'm sat here drinking too much. Anyway, boom. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll catch you in a couple of weeks. See you later.